Hello? Hello! Hey, y'all had a time to eat, so now you can come over and actually watch the presentation from here. You're what?
Check.
I'm sure I will use the appropriate group designation after Duncan gives his talk. But, two things before the talk, because I'll forget otherwise. One, there's a ton of delicious asparagus over there that y'all should eat. And yes, all y'all, sorry, proper pluralization. And also, at the end, when you're asking questions, wait for the mic to get to you. It's not Todd doing it today. He has to leave. KB will be giving you the mic, and she will slug you if you don't wait. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, so we are very privileged this week to learn about British stuff from Duncan, who has refused to give me more details than that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so from the very top, we're gonna cover some British stuff, semi-brief history of the English language, and then delving into some cockney. From the top, all right, I have a question for you. How many countries are in this map? What? All right. How many people say one? Like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is the correct answer. All right. From the top. England. We all know what England looks like. Scotland. Wales with a cool freaking flag. Northern Ireland, who do not have a flag. Sad face. Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. And the UK. The UK, question. Who? I don't even know what that is. Calm yourselves. All right. The UK is one country which consists of 4 separate countries. Very confusing. Bit of a trick question, but we'll carry on. So the British flag. So firstly, the British flag, which we'll see in a minute, consists of a number of different flags. So firstly, we have the English flag and the Scottish flag melt together to give the flag of the Kingdom of Great Britain. This is so awesome. Now, obviously, there's something missing from this flag. This flag was in use from 1606 to 1801 and only represented Great Britain. Now, Great Britain is England, Scotland, and Wales. Wales is not represented here, basically because they were already part of the Kingdom of England at the time. Poor Wales. So, combining that with the flag of Great Britain and Ireland's sort of flag, St. Patrick's Cross, I don't think people in Ireland generally recognize St. Patrick's Cross as a flag of Ireland. Is that true? Yeah. Okay, cool. I actually Yeah, apparently it's more or less a British invention. But still, we're stuck on the flag. And now we have the flag of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland. All right. When I first came to this country, a lot of things I knew just from popular culture. But I want to see how you do on some of these things. What is this? Very. What would we call this in England? Sorry. Yes, you're correct. This is a lift. This is correct. What's this? Bonnet. Very good. This is a bonnet. Both headwear. I don't know why we have a hood and a bonnet. Very confusing. All right. This is jelly. This is not jam. This is jam. This is effectively a peanut butter and jam sandwich. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich is very confusing and sounded weird. And this still seems weird to me. All right, these are... You are all wrong. These are cookies. Which are a type of biscuit. I've never heard these referred to as anything other than cookies. This is a biscuit. Cool. Easy. Good. Crisp. Ooh. Any ideas? What? The courgette. All right. Aubergine. Very good. Cool. What's an eggplant? Okay. Coriander. You're cheating, you know. All right, these are spring onions. Good job. Are there some British people here? All right, trousers. Oops. A little bit too early. Pants. So pants is one of my favorite words, mainly because you can use it as like it's a synonym for rubbish as well. So if something's rubbish, it's pants. Something that you can use later on. All right. From the top. Anyone? Brackets. Square brackets. Curly brackets. I've heard these called braces as well. And yeah, angle brackets, straight up. Okay. Coming here was, yes, so confusing. The whole brackets and parentheses thing just really made me a little bit mental. All right, some Great Britons. Most of these people you probably know. Charlie Chaplin was born and raised in England. Many people don't know this. Who else have I got up there? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Who's this guy? Churchill. Churchill was voted the greatest prime minister of all time. He is American on his mother's side. I don't know if you all know that. Queen. Love the Queen. She is the Queen of... So many places. One more? Oh, no. Okay. Not according to Wikipedia. Straight up. So I don't have anything against the Queen. The Queen's a little bit interesting, actually. So this is her serving in World War II. She's the only living monarch, currently serving monarch, who actually served on active duty in World War II. She trained as a mechanic and drove a military truck. Respect for the Queen. Ah, the Queen. So her full name, well, at least her first name and last name, is Elizabeth Windsor. Before the House of Windsor was called the House of Windsor, they were called the House of Saxe, Coburg, and Gotha. And that they renamed themselves, they're effectively German. Just so you know, they renamed themselves in 1917 by royal proclamation. The Queen is married to Prince Philip. He is not the king. Make sure you know that. I mean, the reason why he's not the king is essentially because the Queen doesn't want him to be the king. If she wanted to make him the king, she could, but because monarchy is basically a patriarchal system, that would sort of symbolize that he has more power than she does. So the possibility of him being king, especially after all these years, is very unlikely. He is Greek. He was previously known as Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark, and he didn't have a surname, but he was a member of the house of that. And yeah, he renounced all of his titles so that he get married, and now his surname is Mountbatten. Don't know. I think he said he complained that he was one of the only men in England for whom his children would not be named after him or not take his name, because they would be, of course, known as Windsor. All right, man, we're going through this quickly. Cool. All right, so brief history of English. Anglo-Saxons settled Britain from 14 blah, blah, blah. The reason why English is a Germanic language is because of, the Angles and Saxons, coming and settling in England. Anglo and Saxony are an area of Germany, as far as I know. And England is actually named after the Angles. It's effectively the land of the Angles. And they give us Old English, which looks like this. Anyone want to give that a read? Out loud? Mim? Thank you. So this is the translation beneath. I mean, effectively that is, what? Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to read, and if you were to try and read the actual Old English, it's almost impossible. But some of the words are basically the same. We have we, we're in. That might be from, and the rest of it, I have no idea. Cool. The Vikings. Sons of bitches. They invaded in 793. Sadly, because of the Viking invasion, most of the Anglo-Saxon words were wiped out. So of the 30,000 words that were Anglo-Saxon, only 4,500 remain, which is only 1% of the words in the dictionary. However, the words that do remain are actually the most commonly used words in the language. So these are some of the words that I just ripped straight out of the Old English of Beowulf. Yes, beer. I know my audience. Yeah, and some of the other words, like we, in, at, were all just straight up Anglo-Saxon words. Then the Normans came. Yeah, obviously, the Norman invasion came in 1066. No king of England actually spoke English or any form of English for like 300 or 400 years after the Norman conquest. Where are we at now? Yeah, so I mean, the Normans, I think they had a lot of money. I could be wrong. But yeah, I mean, after the Norman invasion, English society was basically divided up into, the Norman French aristocracy and, the very poor and uneducated English people. This sort of had well, I'll come back to that. Yeah, Norman French was the official language of Parliament. In fact, most of the words for like law and jurisprudence and government actually come from the Norman French because of this. Like Parliament is obviously a word, basically that has French origins. One of the things that happened was that because most of the uneducated people were speaking English, it became much more simplified. So, compared to this, you go from Beowulf, which is very difficult to understand, to some Chaucer, which is for the most part straightforward and easy to read. I mean, I'm trying to go through and read the actual Middle English text. And you can get through it within only a few footnotes. This is one of my favorite things I've stumbled across so far. I'm not going to try and read it. Read it? Oh, God. All right. One thing to note here is that we pronounce everything. So it's some more along the lines of, we fare as he that drunker is as a mouse. A drunker man woot well he hath an house, but he note which the righter way is thither, and to a drunker man the way is slither. And certes in this world so fair and we seeken after felicity, but we go wrong full well, full often truly. Does anyone want to guess what that means? Anyone? Okay, so effectively he's saying that we go through life like drunk people. A drunk man, he knows he has a house, but he doesn't know the right way there. And to a drunk man, the way is slippery. And blah, blah, blah. Then we go through life like this. We look for happiness, but we go wrong much of the time. Which I thought was pretty cool. What was that? That was deep. He is deep, and very filthy. Next. So after that, there were lots of changes in the language. The printing press had its good and bad points. So, I mean, William Caxton, in around 1450, he founded a printing press in the centre of London. And because of that, with all these books going out, London spellings began to sort of take over most of the other spellings that were around. One of the issues that came up with this is that as spelling was regularized, well, I mean, the printing press came along at a bad time in as much as spellings got regularized, but pronunciations were still very much in flux. So, yeah, one of the issues is that back then, words like knee and all of these would have had all the letters pronounced. So we'd have stuff like knie and knigata and gnat and folk and wold. So yeah, I mean, effectively, we're spelling words as they were pronounced like 400 years ago, which is one of the many reasons why English spellings are a mess. Another of the sort of ridiculous reasons is that people just decided to change the spellings. There is no real reason why det or doubt have a B in them, other than someone decided to put a B in there because the Latin for those words had a B in them. So they were effectively changing the language, excuse me, so that the language would look more like Latin. Terrible. So then we get something like Shakespeare. Anyone know what this is from, or who's saying this? Yeah, make you read now. Any guesses? No. Anyone? This is Lady Macbeth from Macbeth, right after they killed King Duncan. Yeah, I mean, this is basically readable. I mean, you don't really, I mean, the level of going from something like Chaucer, which you still need a number of footnotes, to something like Shakespeare, where for the most part, it's fairly straightforward. And then we go from something like this to straight up modern English. I'm not going to ask you who wrote this, because this is pretty tricky. This is actually from Great Expectations, which, strangely, leads me to this guy. Where do people think he's from? Where's he from?
Australia.
What do you mean now? Have they changed him?
I think he's got different voices.
Interesting. Because, I mean...
Oh, that could be wrong.
Ooh. Yeah, he is a Cockney. He's from the east of London. He is not Australian. Sorry to disappoint you. This used to really upset me, especially because... It upset me because, to me, it was very obvious that he was from East London. And as well, people would often, I don't want to say accuse, but people would believe that I was Australian as well. Like, the number of times I've gone to a store and they go, oh, yeah, you're from Australia. It's like, no. I mean, there is a question. I think so. This used to make me angry, but not so much. I mean, if we go back to this comment of Great Expectations, I don't know how many of you actually read Great Expectations, but here we're talking about, if you remember at the beginning of Great Expectations, Pip is accosted by the convict. The convict is actually sentenced to transportation, which effectively means because he's convict, he's been sent over to Australia. The reason why some of the Cockney accents and the Australian accents are sort of similar, and I can see why people think they're similar, is because a large number of people who were sentenced to transportation and sent to Australia actually came from the east end of London. So yeah, I get less angry every time someone calls me Australian. Oh, still. Okay, Cockney. Cockney has geographical and linguistic associations. So essentially, it's sort of an accent, some of the words you use and where you're from. So like I mentioned before, generally you're a Cockney if you were born and grown up in the east of London and you're more or less from a working class background. I mean, there used to be definitions where you could only be a Cockney if you were born within earshot of the Bow Bells in London. I think they actually got destroyed in World War II, so that doesn't count anymore. But yeah, so we have that. So the accent. Oh. Okay, so THs generally become Fs. The Ts are, glottal. So, British versus British. And the Ls sometimes get dropped off the end. So this would be, mathematical would be mathematical. Thank you. Governor would be governor. That may sound the same to you, I don't know. To be fair. Okay. Cockney rhyming slang. Oh. So, I mean, this is basically a brief explanation of what it is. It's just using words and phrases which rhyme with what you actually mean. So, for example, what would they be talking about here? Anyone have a guess? Round of beers. You would ask for a round of Britneys. So, is it making sense? Because we have... All right. Let me rephrase. Like, are you understanding how this works? No, I mean, people actually speak like this. I mean, effectively, one of the reasons it's there is that it's... consider it like leet speak, right? If you know it, you're in that particular group. There are stories that... I've heard different origin stories, like people... it was developed so that, little pickpockets could talk to each other while confusing the police, so the police wouldn't know what they're talking about. Similarly, that merchants, Cockney merchants could speak to each other and tell each other stuff. So in a way so that the customers wouldn't know what they were talking about. Not only that, I mean, it's a community like anything else. How does it work? So yeah, you pick the word you want slang for, find a 2 or 3 word phrase with the last rhyme, blah, blah, blah. Drop the last word in your phrase. Maybe. Okay. Any ideas?
Have a look.
Butcher's hook? Look. Have a look at this. Okay. This one's fairly straightforward. Did I hear believe? Okay, cool. I know you know. Don't say.
This is the topic of internal apps.
This is the topic of internal apps. Yes, China plate mates, which means friend. Okay. Where are we going now? All right, that's, oi mate, can I borrow a $5? Straight up, no problem. I honestly didn't know this was Cockney rhyming slang until like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I just thought that was a word for, well, I guess we'll see. Okay. Boracic. There's apparently something called boracic lint. Translates to skin, which means broke. I don't know. I have no idea. The only reason, so DeWiki bought a book on Cockney English, and I was flicking through it, and I saw this, like, oh, so that's what it means. I had no idea that it was Cockney. I just thought it meant you were broke. Next up, skyrocket. Pocket. Oh, really? Who knew? All right, another fairly straightforward example. Okay, this is just regular English, I guess. All right. Any ideas whatsoever? All right, cobblers. Cobblers alls. So we know what a cobbler is, right? Okay, balls. Loaf of bread, head. Now, Burke, no. Burke was actually used by a number of people as a very, very mild insult. You know, you'd hear it on TV all the time, especially by the two Ronnies, if you ever see anything by them. It's not. There we go.
All right.
We all get that?
Yeah.
Good. All right, a complicated example. All right, there are 2 ones here. We have bottled it and Aris. Any ideas? This one's this one's a bit weird. This is true. And then, yeah, you're having a tin one, mate. I know I've explained this to a few already. Because you don't always, I mean, I could have. I didn't. So, bottle glass, arse. Now, Aris. Dear oh dear. Aris, Aristotle, bottle. This is 2 levels. So Aris to Aristotle to bottle, bottle to bottle glass arse. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't explain that. Okay. So, if you've lost your bottle, you've basically defecated in your own underwear, which means you're scared. So if you bottle it, you know, you're a coward. Bottle it, yeah.
There's a famous sports interview where there's a team going to win a championship and he kept going out, we got bottled. You know, like, that's it. We got like nerves. Yeah, so we got bottled.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you lose your bottle, then, you know, you've essentially sold yourself. But yeah, I mean, saying that you do have bottle, and some say, you know, where's your bottle? It means that, you know, you start using it in a slightly different way. But I mean, the sense is still there. Okay. We're having a tin one. I remember the first time I heard this and I was so confused. And it took me like a week to figure it out. Yeah. Bear in mind that the TH tin bath in Cockney accent. Tin bath, laugh. Okay. Yes.
You were able to like figure it out, like decipher it?
Yeah. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I didn't look it up. It just sitting there, stewing in my brain for a good week until like, thank you. All right, the very, very final example. Let's see how many of these you can get. Okay, straightforward. I'll explain these as we go. Better not. I had a Barney with the trouble and strife last night. I only asked her for a cup of Rosie, and she flew off the handle. Okay, trouble and strife, wife, cool. Rosie? T. I heard Sam say T. Rosie Lee, T. Flew off the handle, that's just, a phrase for saying no, you went crazy. Barney. Barney, well, people say it's Barney Rubble, for trouble, but apparently people have been using Barney for years and years, like much before. I think it was first referenced in like the 1960s. Barney Rubble only came around in the 1960s, but this was used, or has references way before that. So as for the original provenance, who knows? Okay. That's fine. Okay. Also, I went to the bog for a jimmy. All right, let's start there. So a bog is a toilet, just slang for a toilet. For a jimmy.
Jimmy Riddle.
Jimmy Riddle for a piddle. Are you British?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Great, carry on.
Thank you. Validation, I love it. All right, cool. Went to bog for Jimmy, for a piddle. We understand what piddle means, right? Okay, good. When I come back, she left. I had to walk all the way back down the frog on my jack. Okay. Any ideas? Good. Frog and toad, road. So I had to walk all the way back down the road on my jack. Jack Jones is either alone or on your own. So, like if you're doing something by yourself, you can say you're doing it on your jack or on your J's. J's for Jack Jones. Very confusing. I only learned that like 2 weeks ago as well.
Okay, not parse.
What was that?
Okay, not parse.
So again, Jack Jones alone or Jack Jones on your own. So on your jack by himself. When I got back, she said I had my minces on some other bird all night. Minces? Mince pies, eyes. And bird is just slang for women.
Why did they change so few words?
Expletive deleted. And essentially, that is it. Any questions about anything? Questions?
How about press again?
I don't think it'll work. I'm not gonna try.
Out of curiosity, how often do like new words go in and out of the Cockney slang?
I guess it's more of a function of the community. I mean, if you start using a word and then people like it, they'll adopt it. I mean, feel free to make up your own, to use around the office. Yeah. Anyone else?
How likely do you think this was invented by the British upper classes to oppress the people of East London?
It seems unlikely in this case. Anything else? Question? We have a question up front.
I heard of something called the posh Cockney accent, where posh people were imitating Cockney. Is that a real thing?
Yeah, that's called Mockney. So Lily Allen, I don't know if how popular she's been over here, but she has a habit of singing in a Cockney accent. She is not Cockney. She comes from a large amount of money. I think her dad's, I forget, but he's like a guitarist or musical artist. Yeah, she's one of the most famous Mockneys. Yeah. I mean, Mockney is sort of a strange term. I mean, it's essentially anyone who isn't a Cockney, but speaks or acts like one. A good example might be Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins. He does not sound like a Cockney, just so you know. Anything else?
Are you a Cockney?
No. Not even slightly.
Does the Queen actually do anything?
Fair question. Possibly. I mean, she's there basically as a figurehead. I mean, she does. So she has power, but she doesn't exercise it. I mean, I think the phrase like she reigns, but she does not rule. The Queen rules. Yeah, I mean, you know, they take money. I mean, I've got nothing particular against the royal family, but they do suck up money. Yes.
Will you watch the prince get married? Do you care?
I think everyone will watch the prince get married just because there's going to be no escape from it. I've already seen books like published like a week after it was announced. It's like, oh my God, how do people even prepare for this already? I have no real interest.
Just a question on that, because and Prince Charles is likely going to get skipped, right? And that's why Prince William is probably lined up to be the next king.
Possibly. I mean, there's rumors. I mean, so the Queen, she will not give up the throne. She has flat out stated that before anyone else becomes monarch, she will have to die. She's at 59 years right now, so she's going for Queen Victoria's record, which is I think 60, which she'll beat next year. She is old. I did have a slide on when she was born, but then I took it out, because facts, who needs those? Yeah, anything else?
What is a chav and is it offensive?
That depends on who you're asking. So a chav is sort of the favorite, or the most common, the most recent underclass of society. They all sort of started when an actress on EastEnders, which is a British soap, Daniela Westbrook, who's lately been famous for not having a septum in her nose anymore because of all the cocaine she's been snorting. She was a picture of her was posted of her wearing nothing but Burberry, which is a specific fashion brand. Burberry suddenly became, or fake Burberry at least, the pattern suddenly became very popular in the UK among a certain subset of people. Whether or not it's right to make fun of these people, you can ask me offline. But yeah, the chav stereotype is, you know, go out, get drunk, fight, have babies when you're 16, that sort of thing.
So like white trash.
Exactly, that is exactly it. They are the white trash of England, no more than anyone else's.
Burberry.
Burberry. Fake Burberry, because Burberry's expensive. There was a trend for a while that some chavs, quote unquote, would wear baseball caps with the label still in, because that would signify that they stole it. And that was a badge of honor, I guess. Onwards? Who's next? Any other questions?
So I just did a quick search, and I didn't see a Cockney speech translator, and it definitely didn't have a voice text-to-speech feature either. So
sure.
We should work on this after.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually the wiki found something on Ubuntu that translates into Cockney from English. So check your repositories.
All right, I'll keep looking.
Anything else?
Is Top Gear the best cultural phenomenon to ever happen in the UK?
No.
Faulty Towers, right?
You know, I liked Faulty Towers, but I'm going to vote for Doctor Who. There we go. Doctor Who? There we go. You know, I was never a big fan. They seem too wacky. Anything else? Are we all good? All right.